Okay, thank you for coming to the Saratoga Springs Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, May 29th, 2025. And we will go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Karn is going to lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Karn. For roll call tonight, we have all commission members in attendance. Oh, is Commissioner Mangum coming late? Or he might join us late and he might not be here. And if he's not here, he'll be excused. And then we'll go ahead and open for public input. Time has been set aside for public input. Public input is limited to no more than 15 minutes total. This time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, and comments for the subject matter not listed as public hearing on the agenda. Seeing none, I'll close public input and we'll move to public hearing item number 1. And for that, Commissioner Miles.
Yes, thank you. Just an effort to be careful and to avoid any potential conflict of interest, I'm just going to recuse myself from items number 1 and 2. Again, just to be careful on that. So I'll plan on just rejoining the commission after those 2 items, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thanks.
Okay, so public item number 1, Saratoga 7, Grand Sierra Way Community Plan and Village Plan Amendments located at 623 North, Grand Sierra Way. Chad Spencer is applicant and planner Kendall Black presenting. Oh, sorry.
Good evening. Sorry. So this is a community plan, village plan currently, and it's just for one site. It's just a church site. There's nothing else in it. And it currently has some right-of-way where future Market Street was supposed to go. So this is right over here north of Neptune Park. You can see the zonings, planned community. So the differences from what they are proposing from what is now, they're increasing the church square footage from 17,000 square feet to 24,000 square feet. The lot size will reduce by a little bit and the lot boundary will be smaller. The meeting house lot will increase. The right-of-way dedication will go smaller because the future master plan put Market Street further north, so it's no longer right next to that, so we don't need the right-of-way there anymore. And then it's an increase in ERUs due to the increase in the church building size. Also, they're proposing that planning staff will be the approval authority for the future applications. So for the preliminary plat and the site plan, we currently already do the final plats, and then removing references to Market Street as it will be moved away out of that. So these are the new elevations. Oh, sorry. And the elevations have changed some. So they've changed. There's not, it's just a bigger church building than what was proposed earlier, so it's a little bit different. Again, so there'll be more landscaping than before because it's a bigger lot, so that's nice. They meet that. They have the 30%. And are there any questions?
Well, let's go ahead and open for public comment first. Seeing none, I will close public comment. And let's go ahead and ask if the applicant wants to join us tonight, if they want to come on up and take a seat, and if they have anything they'd like to add.
Chad Spencer. I don't have anything, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And Commissioner Karn.
Yes, I have a question on page 2 in our packet. There are 2 aerial images with colored lines on them that show the church location. The second image shows a black line. What is that black line? It's not in the slide, but it's in the packet. I don't know if you have access.
Yeah, it's page two of the packet.
Okay, I don't have them.
With pictures on.
So is it just the boundary?
It's a black line that goes from the new proposed Market Street and cuts through the church site and continues on to the right.
Is it okay to come look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, or whoever's driving the slides, if they can pull it up.
Oh, yeah, it was part of the TMP. So the future TMP, where the church is going to be built, that'll probably have to be moved. But the transportation master plan,
Okay. So we're updating the transportation master plan to move Market Street, but what you're saying is that smaller road is also going to have to be moved.
and it can go north of it. It's just, yeah, it's not, it won't go through the church. It would have to go north of it. It's just for the future development there. It's just having an ad so they can separate into different lots.
Okay, and the church is not going to have entrances on the right and left side of,
No, it'll just be off Grand Sierra Way.
okay. Sorry, off of which, what's
Grand
that's the,
Sierra Way, which is,
okay, that's the north-south road?
it's to the east.
Yeah,
So that's the one, if you go straight down, it also, you get to Neptune Park from there.
okay, so there's no backside entrance, just the east entrance, okay. Thank you. That was my question.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kern. Commissioner Hill?
That was part of my question as I looked at it. I wanted to see kind of where Market Street was because it's closer to that. A couple of things that I looked at, staff says that it's consistent with the code, and I understand, much of this was done before we knew we were having the downtown master plan. There's going to hopefully be significant residential in that area down there. And so it indicated a major amendment would be required, and that's what we're doing. The density is going to go up a bit because of, I'm guessing, lesser land in that area that's going to be used by the church, going up to 11.11 units per acre, which is more than a 15%.
Well, it's not units per acre, it's equivalent residential unit.
Okay, equivalent, yes. And so from my perspective, I think with all the changes that are happening in the area and a need to have that larger church site, I feel very comfortable with the work that's been done.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Wilden?
Yeah, could you explain the ERUs? Just what difference does it make going from 8 to 11.11? Is that something we should be concerned about?
Sarah can take that one.
It just actually means they're using a little bit more capacity in the utility systems. So equivalent residential unit is how we calculate capacity needs, water, sewer, storm drain.
So instead of 8 homes, it takes the equivalent of 11 homes.
Right,
So, but it's taking more space, so it kind of balances out.
right. And generally, it means they're going to have more restrooms than the original plan would have had. So with a building like this, we look at, when we're looking at equivalent residential units, we're looking at fixture counts and water usage and sewer usage.
So you don't see any concern with this change?
No, they have the capacity for the increase.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wilden. Seeing no other comment, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I move that the Planning Commission move forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the Saratoga 7 Grand Sierra Way Church Community Village Plan amendments located at 623 North Grand Sierra Way with findings and conditions in the staff report.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kern. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second from Commissioner Hill. Any questions on the motion? And I'll now call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And okay, we'll go ahead and move to Public hearing item number 2, Jordan Promenade, Wander Community, Plan Major Amendment 4, Village Plan 2, Major Amendment 2, and Village Plan 3, Major Amendment 2, located east of Redwood Road between Pioneer Crossing and 400 South, east of Patriot Park and the Jordan River. Greg Pally of Oakwood Homes as applicant, and Senior Planner Grand Prix.
Good evening, Commissioners. We do have the applicant here. If Greg and his team wanted to join us. So the 3 amendments have come in conjunction. You had seen at a public hearing earlier or mid last year, the Wander Village 3 Amendment 2 item. It went to City Council, and the City Council tabled it because they wanted to see the amendment then was to increase from 6 townhomes to 8. The City Council wanted to see where the footprint of those would be so that they could see the view sheds. In the meantime of that, there were some issues with architecture differences between Village 1 and Village 2. So City Council asked staff to work with the applicant on addressing those issues. In the meantime, too, UDOT came back with a plan to widen Pioneer Crossing, which means that it would affect their property significantly. So working with SLR, Oakwood Homes managed this change. At the top of this Village 3 is Pioneer Crossing, and that will raise almost 3 feet, and Riverside Drive will become an underpass. And so there won't be access off of there. So the commercial area that was initially scheduled to be in the northwest of Village 3, SLR is asked to move things around. With the need for a stake center especially, they asked to make the stake center in Village 3 a bigger area and move that commercial, this gives you a better idea, move the commercial that was scheduled to be up on the north side over to where the church house is in Village 2 on the north side of 400, or on the north of, southeast of Pioneer, or Redwood and 400 North. So as you can see on the right-hand side, that changed the dynamics of things. That also instigated a community plan amendment, a Village 2 plan amendment, and then the reworking of Village 3, because they had to restructure their lotting plan in order to address, open up that area to put homes rather than the commercial area. So that, just to kind of go through some of these major points with the community plan amendment. So they reclassified some of the land use to community commercial in Village 2. So the community plan is where those land designations get established, and it designates the 2 commercial lots in Village 2 as community commercial. It also added the coach house product type to their cluster homes. And then there was updated language to the ERU allocation. Again, to go back to what we were talking about, the architectural styles, what we asked the applicant to do was to provide in the village plan more prescriptive language for those styles of homes that they're building. And then there was an updated traffic study in regard to the commercial uses being moved over to Village 2. So just to really, I've got a lot of slides here. My staff report was pretty thorough, so I just want to touch on some of these. It really was just adding coach house to what was already established in the community plan. Nothing's really changed on those layouts as far as, four of them versus 6 of them. The language for the architectural styles, it's in your packet, but I just wanted to show you they added those details of these different styles of homes. So, the coach house or the motor court, courtyard type styles, they added prescriptive language for us as staff to be able to review those. And as well as their architectural design committee, when I believe an application goes through that committee on the applicant side before it gets put out to the city for a building permit. So these help solidify some of those requirements. Our village plan and community plan, Title 1916, really reiterates that the village plan is where the details are. So the community plan is that high level, and it does call these out. So just the residential or the ERUs, it just added some language in there about the commercial and mixed use, that it will have to come back to a village plan amend, or it has to be incorporated in a village plan. Until those properties develop, you know, there are slated ERUs for the commercial. So that's what will have the engineers and all of that will be figured out during that time as when it develops. Village Plan 2, Amendment 2, they changed from neighborhood commercial to community commercial. Now, the language in the village plan actually was meshing together language from the DAP, the district area plan, with our Title 19, and it was really confusing. It was calling for residential above commercial and things like that. So I asked them to clarify that. Community commercial is what they went with so that they could have a few more uses in those areas. I did include the comparison from Title 19 of what uses will go in there if it was neighborhood commercial versus mixed use, because on that corner down there, it is potential commercial / mixed use. That's what it's been designated all along. Just increase of commercial area with that moving of those commercial areas from Village 3 to Village 2, decrease of removing the village second meeting house location, and then a slight increase of open space because of the storm drainage and how that affects that area. Then the updated architectural standards and the HOA exemptions for commercial church uses. So the HOA doesn't regulate those uses. Just an outline of those changes. Again, the commercial standards and the differences there. It really, they cleaned it up to where it's very clear and concise. They're following Title 19 for those commercial. So the standards, when we do a site plan, we are looking at Title 19, not the village plan necessarily. I mean, we still check the village plan, but we do want to make sure that they're following the standards outlined here and in Title 19. And then just some building allocation changes. Again, we talked about those. One thing they did add, and I had asked for them to add this because this is done in a couple other planned communities, is the enhanced facades. We've talked about this in other developments, showing where the primary facade is and then the secondary facade and the enhancements for those that are adjacent or directly facing a public right-of-way. And so they provided that so we have a better idea of what where those enhanced facades need to be. And then just these are just the changes for the design guidelines. You can see this is what was there before, and then in the design guidelines adjacent to that, they add all of the architectural styles and that prescriptive language. So it's a little more tight. And I just wanted to show, they added a lot of detail. So compared to what they had before to what is being proposed now is quite different. And it's easier for staff when we're doing a building permit review to say, okay, check, they meet all the boxes in the village plan. Just again, it's that association language. And then Village 3 really probably has the most changes in it. And again, several of the same things. Meeting house area, commercial area, park size actually increased from 25 acres to 28. And some of that is because, and I'll show you the park plan here in just a second. Again, UDOT is going to widen that road. So It provided some open space there, as well as the storm drain from Riverside Drive down to the river. There has to be some, or they're providing like an open trench for some of that, and Greg can correct me on that, but their plan on that changed. So they're utilizing that as open space. Again, building allocations changed a little bit. And then again, that enhanced facades sheet that I had asked for. And then the design guidelines, this is the monuments. The monument, where they have monuments located. So from the first one that was approved initially to what is being proposed now, because of that shift of where Redwood or Pioneer Crossing is going, they're asking to move that monument sign down further into the development a little bit because of the height of Pioneer Crossing, Riverside Drive becoming an underpass and that type of thing. So they just moved that one around. Initially, it was going to be a main monument, and now they've made it a secondary. Again, they went into a lot of great detail. I really have to give them kudos because they really answered our call. And compared to what they had initially to what they have now, it really makes it a lot easier to ensure that the community is going to be cohesive. Sewer plans, there was some things that they had to work out with the Posey Sewer Lift Station and the line that goes through there. So because of that, they had to rearrange some of their lotting. And so that is one of the reasons why this has taken a little bit longer, because of the issues there. So now some of this is being developed and the lotting is more solid. And so some of those utility lines become permanent. So again, the lotting plan changed. You can see how the north is facing this way on the slide, or that way on the slide. But you can see the difference at the north part of the development of how that changed. And then the park plan. So a lot has changed with this. We sat down with them last summer to go over this park plan. One of the council members was involved with this. And we really wanted to address, they submitted their first phase of the park, which was on the north side, and then Pioneer Crossing came in and said, well, that's not going to really work. So parking was another issue, restrooms, what do we want as a city for this public park to look like? And so again, they came back with some really great changes. They've added additional parking, not only on the north side, but the middle and the south side. So there is ample parking, plus there will be road parking along the road that is just on the other side of those homes. They gave up some of their amenity center for parking, so that would address some of the big concerns. Safety, where the location of the playground was, having those palisades widen up, so they widen those significantly. That's where the extra acreage is coming from 25 acres to 28 acres. Restrooms, did I miss anything on that? Nope. They're working on designs for the restrooms, and they're working with staff, the facilities manager, to make sure that they're building something that works for the city. So with that, it's a big staff report, 375 pages. So hopefully you were able to get through all of it. But if you have any questions, Greg is here, as well as his.
Gina, before we open for public comment, this was tabled by City Council, and can you address just the reasons it was tabled by City Council and what those results are?
Yeah, so the reason for tabling it was in the area just on the south side where their townhomes, their 6 attached townhomes are going. So one thing that they came back with, because of the concern of the council members, that, well, if you go up to 8, we're not going to be able to have that view shed and to the river or to the lake. And so they actually pulled that off the table, they're keeping the 6, but the reason they actually tabled it was because they wanted to, the city council members wanted to see where those homes were going to be. So where were these 8 plexes going to be, and how is that going to affect the view shed? So after everything that we've gone through, months and months, almost a year of trying to get through all of this, and they decided to pull that off the table. And that was the reason for it, was because they wanted to see those footprints. They didn't want to lose the view sheds. In fact, what they've done is they've come back and widened those sheds and made it better. So, so view shed means that if you're at Riverside Drive, if you're at Riverside Drive, there should be areas that are open to the river. So there, if you can tell these little green spaces that go to the road, those are your view sheds. That's your viewing area to that river. And so in our code, under our water overlay, lake and river overlay, we want to preserve those view sheds. So it's kind of difficult with the way that the river kind of goes and their road kind of shifts with the river, but you can see on the detail they've added, they've shaded out a little bit on that page, but you can see where those home footprints are going to be. Some of these are motor courts, meaning they are 4 cluster homes, but their driveway opens up and you can see the river. So if you're on that road, you'll be able to see the river. And that's the whole purpose of the table, was because the council wanted to see how that was going to lay out. The other reason was because of there were some homes that didn't appear to be meeting the village plan and community plan and the intent of the architecture there, to more than one material, 2, 3 colors. Those things weren't being met. And so we had to look at the village plan and how that language was. That was a request by the council, for staff to do an analysis of what's been built in Village 1 versus what's been built in Village 2 and what Village 3 language is going to look like. And so we did that. We worked with the applicant. We've had several meetings with them, and they have addressed that thoroughly. I mean, I believe they have the documents that really show, what those styles. It's not just pictures. It's it's actually going to be, well, this color scheme is going to apply for this building type, and this building type is, let me back it up here. On the right-hand side, this is the building type. This is a motor court. Yeah, it's a motor court, right? It's a coach house type product. And so, they have these outlines. These are the features that we, as the applicant and the city, because this is a joint document, are going to see. And so on their end, when they're doing their architectural review, and on our end, when we're doing it, we're all going to agree, hey, this product that has a building permit is going to look exactly how it is intended to look. Does that answer your question?
For the most part, I think, yes, thank you.
So one of the reasons that it got kind of, I don't want to say blown up, but there were, with the change at Pioneer Crossing, SLR came back and said, hey, we don't want to have commercial there anymore because it's not going to be a good location for it. We want to move it. Plus, we have a greater need to have a steakhouse, a bigger church house building in Village 3. So let's remove that property in Village 2 and change it to commercial, which actually increased the commercial area and increased the area for the building in Village 3. So there was kind of some of this swapping going around, which required additional village plan and community plan amendments. So
it says in the packet, during the meeting, concerns were also raised that Oakwood Homes Utah, Inc., the developer, was not adhering to the architectural design standards specified in Village Plan 2.
Was that in the minutes? That's resolved. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
okay. Let's go ahead and open for public comment then. Sorry, I guess as long as you're done too, Gina, sorry.
Done.
Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close. Was there anything the applicant wanted to add? And if you please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Greg Paley, I'm with Oakwood Homes, and address is 206 East Winchester in Murray. Two things I'd like to add. First is, I'm reading my notes here. It's hard with I'm new to glasses here, so hang on a second. Oh, yeah, I did want to point out, Ms. Grand Prix said that Pioneer Crossing was raising up 3 feet. It's actually
30.
It's 30 feet. So it raises up 30 feet, which causes an encroachment down into the commercial area and actually our developable area too. Furthermore, it creates, it disconnects Riverside Drive from Pioneer Crossing. And so that really decreased the viability of that northern commercial site to the point where SLR said, hey, this just isn't going to work for us. And so that was driving a lot of the land changes. Gina, could you go back to the monument plan, please?
To the what, lotting plan?
Monument.
Oh, monument. Which one was it? Right there.
Yeah, so we decided, if you look at the image on the right, the orange circle, we moved originally from where the green triangle was on the left image. We moved that southwards to that location where the orange circle is. And that's because Pioneer Crossing, again, the slope's going to be coming down right there. And we think that there's not going to be a lot of visibility. Our request is, and Gina, I'm sorry to lay this on you kind of late here, but it came up this afternoon. We're unsure of the timing for when Pioneer Crossing gets expanded. UDOT says it's in their plans. They don't have the funding right now. We're talking about how to get them the land, but they don't officially have funding for the project. So it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 15 years. We have to land plan for it from a lotting standpoint, but our ask would be that it would be kind of an either or for us. We'd prefer to put the monument down in the new location where the orange dot is, but we'd like the flexibility to put the monument up or have it be considered by the commission to put it in the location where the green dot is as well.
So that's correct. The flex lane design that's going to be starting soon does not need additional right-of-way, but in the future, we expect that Pioneer Crossing will be widened. Something similar to Bangerter is under discussions, and so that's what Greg is referring to at this point, that so that commercial site won't really work well right there, and neither will the sign, because UDOT will need more land to expand Pioneer Crossing in the future.
Right, so in the meantime, it is kind of going to be our primary, until that time, Pioneer Crossing is expanded and raised. It's our primary entrance to the community. We'd like to do something nice. We'd like to have that flexibility. Have the commission consider, in addition to the amendment, consider adding that we can put that sign in either location. And I believe Ken has something he wanted us to do.
Sure. Evening, Planning Commission. My name is Ken Ponzarelli with LAI Design Group. So regarding the paseos, probably the best analogy I use is they're a giant window, a window onto the park. So if we go to the north, our northern window or paseo grew from 67 feet wide to 87 feet wide. Then we have several others leading down to the central parking area. And they grew from 40 to 50 feet, 25 to 40 feet, and so on. And then we've increased our parking on the southern edge of the park. And then we have a larger parking area next to the amenity center. And then we have one at the very north end. And so if my memory serves me, when we counted up all of the parking, we have several hundred stalls plus on-street parking, and there was discussion about other overflow opportunities that might occur during festivals and things like that, which I can't speak for the Stake Center, but I don't know if anybody would stop anybody from parking there, but that as an example. So we have a total of 320 possible stalls. Yep, including on-street.
207 dedicated off-street parking spaces, which exceeds what we estimate the required parking to be.
At 130. At 130.
That includes the Stake Center or not?
No.
That's in the north and the south parking
our
lot,
own.
plus the amenities.
That's
It's-
correct.
It's considered private property.
Yeah.
Up to allow for that.
So basically what had happened is we worked with staff to calculate what the required parking for all the different programmatic elements that would be in the park, from the playgrounds to the free play areas, kayak launch, all the things. And that's about 133 stalls required. And within our 3 parking stalls, we have 207. And then on-street, we have another 113, which is all public right-of-way. So we're excited. I think it was a great collaboration, and it'll provide the necessary parking for a facility like this to really be enjoyed, not just by Wander residents, but the entire community, which is the intent of the park.
Okay. We'll go ahead and open up for commissioner comment. Commissioner Hill.
Well, thank you. I mean, it provided a lot of good reading for us. But, you know, when you think about that, I can just imagine the process you and staff had to go through to get this together. I remember when the council had you go back, and, you know, in my notes, it says having more clarity to Village 1 and 2. We've got clarity now, and so thank you from that perspective. The changes of the widening of Pioneer Crossing, UDOT, again, we don't know when that's going to be. We're pushing UDOT really hard to recognize that we need transportation, especially east and west. And they hear us, they're putting it in, but it's going to take time, as you indicated. One question I had, in any of your other building, it was really unique to me to look at the Carriage the Coach House, the uniqueness of building kind of a little neighborhood right there with everybody in that cluster. Have you done that in other developments and could you share a little bit what you find and what the people living in those clusters feel, how they feel?
Sure. I don't know if I could speak to how they feel, but I would encourage you just personally to walk a model, because they live really cool. I refer to them as almost like an adult tree house. So the lower level typically has a small living space for, TV room, kids play area, that kind of thing. The second floor on the 3-story models is where your kitchen living room is, and lots of natural light. So they live bigger than what they are. Yeah. And then third floor is where your master and secondary bedrooms are. Yes.
Yeah, with the garages down below, that takes quite a little, and it's a smaller.
More compact footprint, for sure.
Yeah. But what I felt was intriguing is how those driveways interspersed in there, and it brought people a little closer together. And that's where, you call it cluster homes, absolutely. And I think for some people, that creates their own little neighborhood.
It does. It's a nice little enclave. A lot of times, home buyers that will buy a cluster product, it may be a first-time buyer, or it may be a move-down buyer that has more of a travel lifestyle where they can lock and leave. And so you don't have a large yard to maintain or any of that, which is also why we have so many other green spaces and neighborhood parks within Wander, as well as what will be, I think, the crown jewel, which is the Riverfront Park.
Absolutely. So thank you for giving some insight into that, because that was something I had not seen, that type of product a whole lot in my comings and goings. Again, let's see. You know, the one thing with the more clarity to the design of your properties, you did a great job. You updated, in my mind, to mirror a little bit kind of the new construction that's happening throughout our city. And I like that. I felt that it's a cohesive product that's being brought together. A lot of work on your part to update that, but it just shows the newness of what's happening in those Village 1 and 2.
And I think I work with a lot of different planning departments around the country, and you have an exceptional staff here, and I'm not just saying that. These guys bust their tail every day. But I would tell you that one of the things that you will see consistently in all of the updates to the architecture as well as new product is there's 3 colors, 3 materials, and it's consistent throughout, so that the street scene has got as high a quality as the landscape and the streetscape and the park. So everything is cohesive.
Great. I remember this discussion that City Council had about the promenade by the river, and there was very little detail back then, and to see what that's going to look like and what that's going to be for your residents, but also for the community, because at some point when it's all, the city will take over and do the maintenance and those types of things. So I applaud you.
Thank you.
For the vision and creating, from my perspective, a standard that we'd like to have in our water overlays, and that's kind of why we've done that. I like those viewways that gives you not only sight, but if I'm not mistaken, they're paths.
They are. They absolutely.
And get you from Redwood over to Riverside. I mean, it's going to be very walkable.
So I coined it Redwood to the river.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I appreciate maybe some of the changes of getting that commercial over to 400 and Redwood, getting it out of the middle, and then down on Pony Express. I applaud that. Just a couple of other things, observations from my perspective. You know, there's going to be a school right in the middle, but we don't know when that's going to be. That's kind of like UDOT. You know, we have needs, and but I think you've built that right into giving traffic access. You know, coming down Pony, going down Riverside, or coming down from Pioneer Crossing. I looked at those transportation studies, and I think the way you've moved the commercial out a little bit, it even takes a little of that traffic out until we get the school. And the school will be a destination point. And whenever you're around schools, you see parents coming to get their kids and all those types of things. So I think you've done very well from that perspective. The last question I have is the amenity center, and you had a great section here in that. But could you talk a little bit about that? It looked fascinating to me, the things that you're going to be there. And is that's going to remain in your ownership, or is that going to go over
That'll be a private. It won't be open to all of Saratoga Springs, but it'll be open to Wander residents, and there'll be a swimming pool with a sun shelf. There'll be the ability to have laps in there. It won't be like a competition size pool for competitive laps, but there are swim lanes in there, as well as different depths in the pool. The clubhouse facility itself will have a room that could be rented for birthdays and family gatherings, those kind of things. There's a fitness facility in there, fitness suite. And then there are restroom facilities, men's, women's bathrooms that are accessible from both the pool as well as internal to the building. And then at the end of the building, there'll be lifeguard offices as well as equipment storage, and kind of in the middle between bathrooms and lifeguard area will be all of the mechanical pool heaters and things of that nature in there. So it's about a 3,600 square foot building. We're actually working on the design right now and anticipate submitting site plan towards the end of June.
Great. Well, I like how it connects to the promenade, because it's going to enhance the activity all along the riverfront there, with the parking lot there too. So I guess,
And that parking lot will be separate. So there's actually two parking lots. So there's the one that's on the park plan.
Okay.
And there'll be another one in the amenity center.
okay, because I do remember the one, I guess it was on the park plan that was central.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the amenity center, the clubhouse will, so if the,
Yeah,
if
'cause
the,
that wouldn't, the parking for the amenity center wouldn't be on the park plan, because it's not a part of the park.
that's correct.
Part of-
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just letting you know that there'll be even more
more.
parking.
Yeah. The last thing that I would have to say is a thank you. You gave kudos to our planning department, and I do that all the time, because these are professional individuals that strive to create a dialogue that's workable. And in a city where we're having so much building, it's amazing how they can work with you and partner.
Well, they represent you, so they're your
Absolutely.
voice, so
Absolutely.
we hear it.
So thank you, Gina, and the group that was working on this, and Sarah, I always applaud. I've seen a lot of planning departments, and I always tout what you guys do with the, I won't say limited resources, because you've got resources, but you work awfully hard. So thank you for that collaborative process that got us from, I'm guessing was a pretty heavy hit when the council says, let's stop this a little bit, to where we are today. We've got a workable plan. Staff has reviewed it and comes up with complying, and I think it's positioned that when it goes back to council, I think we're going to be able to have dotted the i's and crossed the t's, and hopefully we're doing where we need to be. As a planning commissioner, I was very impressed. Again, I'll tell you, I didn't read every page because it was long, but I did get a sense of what was going on, and I appreciate the efforts. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. I have a couple of questions. So I just want to clarify, tonight we are recommending a change on from neighborhood commercial to community commercial, correct? And can you just refresh me on what's the height difference between neighborhood commercial and community commercial?
Well, it was just from commercial to community commercial.
Yeah.
So do you guys specify height limit in the document?
Yes, they do. Well, I didn't give you the neighborhood commercial. Oh, my goodness.
But it wasn't neighborhood commercial, it just.
No, well, it was in the design, in the commercial standards, it said neighborhood commercial.
Oh, okay.
So that's the difference. That's where there was a lot of confusing language, because it was meshing together two different descriptions of that land use. And in the DAP, in the district area plan, it stated that, the neighborhood commercial would be mixed with commercial and residential, but then it referred to Title 1904 that the land uses and the requirements shall meet Title 1904 for neighborhood commercial. So that's where there was conflicting language. And so SLR came back and said, oh no, we just want to do community commercial because it reaches more users and other,
Do you recall if it follows code or if they have their own height?
No, they followed community commercial standards in Title 19. So,
No deviation
I
from.
can get that, I'll get you the answer.
yeah, I can,
And is this for, so there's the commercial that's going in at, near the entrance, and then there's also the commercial that's the,
yeah, so 400 North and Pony Express, Redwood Road, 400 North and Pony Express. There's an 8-acre parcel on the south side at Pony Express and Redwood Road. Let me go back.
So it's a difference in 5 feet. So neighborhood commercial is 35 feet, community commercial is 40 feet.
okay.
Sorry, you said 35 to 40 feet?
So you can see there's a 12-acre piece of community commercial on the north side and then an 8-acre piece on the south side.
Okay. And so this is for both of those pieces, and then that piece.
And the
that's-
piece on the other side in Village 3 remained the same as what it has been, which was potential commercial / mixed use. SLR they don't have any plans for that yet. So when they do have plans, if it changes from what this narrative is, they will have to come to a community plan, village plan amendment.
That was also a mandate by council.
That was asked in the work session. They held a work session on April 8th. That was a comment that the council made, was they had wanted to change that to mixed use. And the council said we would rather have it back to what it was originally. And so that's what they did.
Okay. I think that was all of my questions. I don't see any more. Oh, Commissioner Karn.
I have several questions. On one of the images, you showed the commercial use on the corner of Redwood and 400 North. But there was a yellow strip to the left in between the road. Is that just an oversight? The commercial use, there's no residential in between there. It goes all the way to
No,
the.
there's not.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you. I saw the drawing of Pioneer elevated,
Correct.
and I'm assuming this is the future plan, like
That's
Bangor, to go up 30
correct.
feet.
That's UDOT's design.
Okay, so UDOT is planning that, but that is not funded in the $2.1 billion?
No.
Okay,
Right now, they're just doing the flex lanes, and then eventually they'll get there.
okay. The traffic study said that the only poor level of service was really at the Pioneer Redwood. But I assume that is only referring to before this correction is made. Is that correct?
Sarah, are you able to answer that?
The level of service where?
In the traffic study, it talked about the level of service. The only poor level of service was at Redwood and Pioneer. But I'm assuming that traffic study is based on without the elevated road as it's shown on the drawings. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's just based on the
Based on
section
what?
we have now.
Yeah, I
I'd
don't.
have to look at it. I can't answer on the spot. I don't know, Ken, if you're able to answer that or not, or if you would need more time to look at that. Yeah, I don't know that we can answer that right now.
Okay. So maybe it's post-flex lanes, pre-raising the road.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Still very bad traffic.
Are you able to
and
answer that? Because I don't know what they based
What
their
page are you on?
information on.
It was in the appendix, I think. in the
Yeah, it was,
study.
the update, it's Exhibit
Sorry, let me see if I
3
can find it.
in the staff report.
I'm looking for it.
I know, I'm like, me too, scrolling.
16% daily.
So it's.
There it
af-
is.
Yeah, it's after the community.
So it's page 88, has the traffic impact study, and then there's a summary of the key findings. And then, I'm sorry, it was further down in Appendix D.
Redwood be widened to have 3 lanes in each direction. 400 signalized.
Yeah, so if it's based off of the image that they have in there showing 355 entering, 276 exiting, it looks like it appears to be based off of the design of the freeway, the
Of the elevated road?
elevated version. Because they're not taking into account Riverside Drive, which would be an underpass. Because there
Okay.
won't be any exit or entrance from Pioneer Crossing onto Riverside Drive. So
Right.
this looks like it appears to be based off of the new design that UDOT provided and the elevation of that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's a trail crossing right now that goes under Pioneer, I believe. isn't-
Over, that's northwest of Fat Cats. Yes, there is an under, so where the hospital is, that trail that comes down from 400 West comes down, there is a, well, it dead ends. So with the new Saratoga Springs, is that what you're talking
Oh,
about?
I'm talking about the new park on the right here, next to the river. Right now, there is already an underpass, right, that goes, the trail that goes under
Over the-
Pioneer.
Oh, okay.
On the
Yes,
east side.
I know.
Yeah,
what
on the east side by the
on
river.
Pioneer Crossing.
I think big enough for bikes to go through.
I don't know, I thought it was still, I didn't know there was an underpass there that crossed the river. Well, that goes along the
Not
west.
for cars, for people and
For people,
bikes.
it's, yes, there's a trail on the the east side of the river, goes underneath Pioneer Crossing there to the other side. That's the Lehigh side. We haven't put in the trail for the Riverfront Park yet. Now, depends on UDOT's design, we don't have a walking bridge to go over the river to connect to that trail, and there's not development yet that's on the west side of the river going north. Eventually, that's what our code requires, our zoning code requires. Anything along the river will require a trail. Our
Okay.
code requires that. But currently, right now, the only trail from Pony Express up to Pioneer Crossing is on the east side of the river, and that's the Lehigh version. And there is an underpass. The trail does go underneath the bridge over Pioneer Crossing, but it continues on through Lehigh.
Okay, so how do people connect then? Do they have to go up to Pioneer and on the road and then go down?
Yeah, they do.
So is it the responsibility of UDOT when they eventually do this to give us a crossing? Or is it the developer who would be responsible?
It would be, well, and we had this discussion when we first were doing Village 3, the design of Village 3. There was a discussion on that. And the city isn't requiring a connection over across the river. However, that is a discussion that we've had with Jeremy Lappin, that maybe when UDOT gets ready to do that widening and that construction, because it's going to change that bridge, significantly.
sure.
And they're trying not to disturb the properties on both sides, the north and the south of Pioneer Crossing. But they're right there by the bridge, the current bridge of Pioneer Crossing. It's really wide. And a bridge across that, a footbridge across the river from the west to the east would be millions of dollars. And so it's not something that the city would really be interested in at the moment. That's what I understand from our discussions throughout the process of the building of Village 3 initially. But again, things change. So maybe that's a time when Jeremy will come back. I mean, Jeremy is very proactive in making sure that we have access to the river. The boat launch that they put in the south of this part.
Jump in. I want to add to that. So it's not the developer's responsibility or UDOT's responsibility. It's something that we as a city can possibly work with either group on.
Right.
In this particular case, it's not part of this proposal. In the future, we could discuss that with UDOT and potentially work together. However, it could also, if the city wanted something like that, we could work on how do we fund that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll probably just wait until they rip that whole road up and then try to figure.
Right. So right now you would have to, like you said, go up to the intersection of Riverside and Pioneer and cross, and then come back down at this little spot right here. So it is a long way around. There is a way once this trail's in, but eventually over time, it is something we would like to,
Okay.
like to see.
Until then, is there going to be a trail connector from the Riverside Trail back to Riverside Drive?
There already is, yeah.
Oh, there already
But
is.
it's just the one along the road. It's not an extra trail. It's just, you do have to go on the road for that segment.
As far as the design of the park, there is a connection up to that sidewalk that goes along Pioneer Crossing.
Okay, thank you. That's, half of this is education for me, so I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm still confused on the CC, not neighborhood commercial, but community commercial and commercial mixed use. What else does that code allow for mixed use?
So the mixed use is not defined in the community plan or village plan. So until they chose to leave it there, there's,
Well, this proposal doesn't have mixed use right now.
correct.
So it was under discussion at some point. It might have, some of that language might have gotten left in the staff report. But they, at one point, were proposing, before it got to you, they were proposing some mixed use, but they've pulled that back because we didn't have a definition or any line to it or anything like that. So the proposal before you is the community commercial.
Okay, I saw commercial mixed use on several other diagrams.
Well, there is, because in Village 3, there is a designation of that in Village 3, but it's not changing from what it was before.
Okay, it's staying
Yeah,
this.
It's staying the
Says
same.
potential
Yeah,
commercial mix.
it's staying the same as
commercial
what it
mix.
was originally.
Right, and
In
that's how
the
it's been
community
the
plan?
last several
Okay.
amendments. We haven't changed
So
it.
in the community plan, it has both. In the village plan, it just has community commercial.
No, it says it's the same in
Oh.
both. So,
Oh, I misunderstood. Okay.
yeah, it's the same in both, because that's how it was originally approved in the community plan and the Village Plan 3. But again, we don't have that definition of mixed use in there. It's just a land use designation. There's nothing to tie units to it or anything like that.
And regardless, a plan would have to come before planning commission and
Okay.
council to review and bless or disagree with, collaborate with, whatever you choose. So that's not on the table today.
Okay, thank you. Another question about the commercial mixed use, or maybe community commercial, that's right next to the river, down Pony Express. There's no roads shown through there?
Correct, because there is no plan for that right now. That
Okay.
will all come about when they.
When that's developed?
Right, when it's developed.
Okay, great, thank you. The homes along section 2 that border Redwood, this is just for my education, please. They're omni, they're designated omni, but we don't have in this packet the elevations for omni.
What is it, what are you calling it?
It used to be called Omni, that was a marketing, and the updated architecture for those home sites is called Brio.
Brio?
Brio, B-R-I.
It's just their name for
Do
that
you know
design.
the rear elevation requirement for that designation? For those lots that are their backside's gonna go to Redwood?
Sure, so I think that as it's shown on the enhanced elevation exhibit, on the, if they're shown in black on the enhanced
So
elevation, on
this
this
is-
exhibit right here,
Sorry, let me
On
get to Village
Riverside.
2, right here.
along
This is
Redwood.
Redwood.
we
Redwood,
have
sorry.
the enhanced rear condition that's shown in the architecture.
Yeah, so if I don't have that exact one here, but it is in, let me tell you what page in Village 2. So if you go to Village 2, I don't know if,
Started right there.
which style is it? Do you know which style it is?
So I think a good one to look at would be, this is not it, this is Twin Homes.
Like a modern, anyways.
Single.
Maybe you just know the answer to my question. Is it just one exterior required on the rear?
Is it?
Just one material on the rear of those that face Redwood?
No, it's the same idea that you have three materials throughout.
Okay, even on the backside?
Yes,
Okay, that's great.
yeah.
Because that's my only criticism of those homes right now on Redwood is they face Redwood and they're kind of boring on the backside.
It's 42 and 43 of the village plan. Area 2, Village Plan Amendment 2 show the enhanced rears. There may be more pages as well.
Yep.
Okay. That's okay. I take your word for it and I'll go look at those later. Thank you. That was all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kern. Commissioner Mann?
Thank you. In regards to the geological hazards on page 97, a couple of things stood out to me. It does state that the project site has a high potential for liquefaction and flood hazards have been identified in the project site. I see that the most recent geological investigation was conducted in 2017, 8 years ago, and only 2 sites were tested in that geological survey. Is there a reason that, to me it seems like it would be prudent with a site like this and those red flags that we don't have a more current geological investigation and we're not testing more sites than 2?
So we do geotechnical borings as this development goes on for every house, so that we're designing foundation and structure with the soil conditions that exist in every location. And then in addition, there's actually a stormwater study that's going on, and that relates to the park. And there will have to be some, for lack of a better word, slope and or earth armoring for flood conditions in the event that the river rises, even though that it's a controlled river. But in the event that it rises, that we don't cause any kind of significant erosion damage to the park or adjacent facilities.
Specifically to the flood hazards, a portion of the site, small portion of the site is inside the 100-year flood zone. And so as a part of the process of developing the site, we're processing CLOMR, which is conditional letter of map revision. We're doing that with FEMA, where we bring the site out of the 100-year flood zone.
Okay, great, thank you. So it's my understanding that developers aren't required to follow the recommendations of the geological engineer. Does the developer or developers intend to follow all of the recommendations of the geological engineer in this project?
I would say any developer that doesn't follow the recommendations of the geotech engineer is doing so at their own risk, and we're fairly risk averse as a company. We will be following the recommendations. I can't think of any project we've done where we disregard the recommendations of the geotech.
I love hearing that. That's great. Curious, and you don't have to answer this, but I'm wondering if there have been any problems with flooding in previous phases of wander or foundation issues due to the soil conditions.
So we did on a couple home sites, we had some settling. And so as many borings as you do, those are really only tell you what's in that exact spot. So you can bore in the middle of a home site, and 5 feet over, you could have something different. So we don't have ground penetrating radar. We don't know what's under there. But we do follow the recommendations. There was some settling. I know at least one home site, and I believe at a couple others, we did some geopiers. But as that comes up, we rectify it. But generally, the site is as we anticipated it to be.
Great. Thank you very much for answering my questions. That concludes mine.
Thank you, Commissioner Mann. We didn't have any discussion around the monument. Commissioner Kern, let's go ahead and hear from you, and then we'll move to monument.
Okay, I just had one more to follow up on those questions. So I built a house 2 years ago, and a year after I built it, the whole back of my house sunk 6 inches. Had to tear everything up and fix it. The city amenities that you guys are going to build and turn over, the bathrooms, will they follow the same requirements that the city requires for homes to over-X and compress and backfill?
No, the requirements for non-habitable structures are different than for homes. So we'll follow the city recommendations. But I imagine, well, I guess
It would follow the engineering standards.
It'll follow the
And
engineering.
specifications. I don't know what those are. I don't know, Ken, if you know what those are.
More for the building department.
Yeah, so we would need to follow up with building.
So if those settle like my home within a year, even though they followed all the standards, is that the city's obligation to fix those, or?
Well, within a year, we're inside our warranty period, so
Okay,
we would
cool.
fix.
Thank you.
And no, it's not the city's obligation to fix those. It's the applicant's obligation to fix those.
Within a year.
Right.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Is that warranty period just 1 year?
It is.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we didn't have any discussion around the monument and the request from the applicant to have some flexibility in placing the monument where they had originally asked to have that placed. If we move forward with the motion without clarifying that, then we'll just be moving forward with that as the application. Is there anyone that wants to have any discussion around that monument? Commissioner Hill.
Well, I think I would defer to staff to give us some direction on that. Yeah, I mean, you understand the code and the ramifications of a temporary monument until the road would be completed, so that wouldn't work. What would staff recommend, or what are your thoughts on that as you look at the total project? And does it fall in line with something? Is it administrative or is it legislative? Does it have to go to the council to allow that to happen?
We don't have any problem with it moving. It's at an entrance where before it was at a corner, so there's no concern with it moving from a staff perspective.
And so if we did that northern monument, that would be done at your cost, and if it had to be moved, it would be done at your cost to move it down to the 400.
Well, at that point, it'd probably be the HOA who would have to fund moving it, so now it's the developer, but once everything's built and sitting for a while, then it will be the HOA.
Okay, the HOA.
And furthermore, I mean, if the improvement is in and HOA is coming and UDOT is coming in and taking it from us, it's a taking and they pay for the taking. So if we negotiate a special extra for relocation, if we're able to do that, certain dollar amount for relocation of the monument, we can pass that through to the HOA and they can hold that for future use.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. So you're saying that you would want to build your monument there where it suits you best and then later ask for money from UDOT to have that monument moved to a better spot?
Well, yes and no. We would ask that it be moved, but the money we'd be getting from UDOT would probably come sooner than later. We've been talking to them about, they do have the money to acquire land. They don't have money to, right now, the funding to build the road, but they do have money to do voluntary acquisitions. So if we voluntarily agree to give them the land that they're eventually going to take regardless, we can negotiate to them. We can have that in an appraisal, and then hopefully we can negotiate to get a value for the amount to move the monument from its existing location to its future location, or to demo that and build a new one, rather than.
So is your proposal, though, to install it here to start with? Or is your proposal to install it here and then have it moved later?
My proposal is to allow us to make a decision at where we put it, and if we
Okay.
put it in the current location, to be able to move it to the future location, or if we decide to ultimately put it in the location as indicated in the amendment, it would give us the flexibility to make that choice in a future time, because we haven't put that application forth to you.
Are you looking at keeping it a main monument on Riverside and Pioneer?
Yes.
And then moving it to be a secondary?
Correct.
Monument? Okay. So basically, you're asking to essentially leave it the same way with a note saying that you want the flexibility to move it?
Yes.
Okay. Does that help clarify that?
That helps clarify it, and I apologize. It's 7:15 at night, and my brain, I think, ended at about 6:20 this morning. So you got this land, UDOT's going to buy the land from you, the monument's going to be on the land, so there'll be additional money that needs to either move the monument or to tear down the monument.
Right, so at this time, we thought we had decided we prefer to have it in the future location, to install it in the future location. The reason it's now a secondary instead of a primary is just due to the size the size of the parcel, we have to put it there. In talking with our leadership at our company, the thought was, hey, this is until this road goes in, this is our primary entrance. Currently, it's not our primary, but it will be our primary entrance into the community. And so we want the ability to do something really great and special there. And so we just want to have that flexibility. Ultimately, when we make a decision here in the coming months, and it's going to be that soon, that we can either put it in the existing location, knowing that in the future, UDOT's going to take that sign won't be at that location, and it'll have to be moved, or we just build it in its future location now. But we as a company, I thought we had made a decision on this, and we haven't. And so I just would like that flexibility to put it in either or, and kind of, I don't want to say kick the decision down the road, but to have a little more time in the company to figure out how we'd like to proceed.
So one thing that will need to happen if you choose to go with the flex plan, one thing that they did do for Village 3 is they removed the main monument page showing those examples and those guidelines. And so that would have to be put back in, as well as the changing of the map on that monument, where it's on page 348 of your staff report. That's where that language would need to be if they choose to change that or if you choose to recommend approval with that change of having that flexibility. It would have to be written into the document.
Can I ask, what do you anticipate the cost of that sign is?
We haven't budgeted yet. I think in any instance, it wouldn't quite be as expensive. We have a pretty grand
I
sign on
think
the
from
corner.
a code perspective, that is a concern, that we would be obstructing right-of-way. So our code does mention, not obstructing right-of-way that's on the transportation master plan. So I do think that's a concern. These signs can be 30 to 100,000 or more. So I don't know what their budget is for this, but that's not a minor expense.
Yeah, my concern is like if you build that monument there, that piece of property becomes more expensive, UDOT has to pay more for it, whatever. And you're literally talking to residents who hate traffic more than anything else in life. I mean, that is our number one complaint. So I would rather spend my UDOT money on improving traffic instead of moving a sign that could have been put in the other spot the first time around. That's my opinion on it. I do want to hear from other commission members if there's additional comment on this, though.
I also do see room, right next to these townhomes too. So out of that right-of-way corridor potentially, but still close to your entrance, close to your prominent corner.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner Weldon.
Yeah, I think this is getting complicated. I think City Council has the option of making that adjustment later on, but I'd rather not make that adjustment now. That's just my recommendation.
Okay. Any other commission comments on the monument? Commissioner Karn?
Listen to these meetings and read the minutes, so I think they'll pick up that concern, and I agree with you. I think it makes more sense to not build it twice, but.
All right, Commissioner Hill?
And I would agree. I'd go with Doug's comments.
Okay. Hearing that, did we have any other comment from the city on this?
I am just looking, I think on page, it was the open space management plan. It was agreed that we were going to remove the note at the bottom of that. And it looks like that didn't get done on this version.
Village 3,
Village 3, correct.
page again.
I am getting there here. It is on page 351. It's section 14B, open space management. That was, I know I had deleted it, but it looks like it's still there. It's a note down at the bottom.
The one where it says revisions to the village plan for Area 3.
Will not be required, yeah. So that, we had requested that to just be removed. I don't know why, I know I had deleted it off this sheet, but it doesn't look like that saved. So that note needs to be removed. So the note in Village 3 on page 83 of the village plan, 3 amendment, the note down at the bottom needs to be removed.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to scroll to that at this moment. Can you read that note?
Yep, I can. So design for Area 3 has not been completed. The open space shown is for planning purposes only. Open space areas for Village 3 may change in the future. Revisions to this village plan for Area 3 will not be required if Area 3 open space amount changes, meaning they don't want to do a village plan amendment if the open space changes. And we understand that there is, changes happen in the plating process. However, that takes the legislative ability away from the city council and the planning commission. And so we asked that to be removed because there was no other language that could be put in there that we felt that would address that. So
Was that just the yellow highlight?
no, it was the whole note is what we had discussed.
And it's contrary to our code, so staff doesn't support that.
So I apologize. I don't know. I'm glad I caught that. It was not in my exhibit when I put it uploaded, so I don't know what happened there.
Okay. Thank you. It's fine. All right. At this point, I will now entertain a motion.
I would move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the Jordan Promenade Wander Community Plan Amendment 4, Village Plan 2, Amendment 2, the Village Plan 3, Amendment 2, located east of Redwood Road between Pioneer Crossing and 400 South to the Jordan River and Patriot Park, with the findings and conditions in the staff report. Do I need to add anything on the monument, or do we?
We would like you to strike the language on page 83 referring to open space changes.
Okay, make that a part of the record and the motion. Thank you, Sarah.
83.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that motion, Commissioner Hill. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions on the motion? All right, seeing no questions, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. And let's go ahead and move to public hearing number 3 and ask if Miles wants to rejoin us.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Council.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks, you guys.
Sorry, on the monument, they're fine.
You're fine, okay.
Okay, so public hearing item number 3, amendments to Title 19 Land Development Code of the City of Saratoga Springs, Chapter 19.18, sign regulations. City initiated, planner Joel Temple.
Good evening, Commission.
It's your first time, right?
It is, yep.
Will be nice.
Thank you. So like it says, this is just a proposed code amendment to try to streamline some of our commercial signage language. In particular, we noticed that the language under our neighborhood commercial section was nearly identical to everything that's already in our existing community and regional commercial sections. So just striking that section entirely and consolidating it all into this. So adding the note that signage in the neighborhood commercial, regional commercial, heavy commercial, community commercial would all be the same. The other difference that, or the other thing we're proposing is, in some places we've used the word secondary to refer to additional signage. Other places we've used ancillary. So we're just making it an ancillary across the board. So anywhere there's a mention of a secondary sign, we've changed that to be ancillary. And then the other thing was any note of, we had mention of when a monument sign was allowed by code, you could have a third building sign. And that was listed under the monument sign, but we felt it was confusing that you'd be scrolling through and trying to apply and realize, oh, well, that's all the way down here. It'll actually need to be up here with my building signage. So just making that more clear and putting it in the space where it made sense. So yeah, striking it from the monument sign section and then moving it up to the building signs.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
This public hearing, so we will open for public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. And Commissioner Wilden.
Yeah, could you help me? I'm struggling to understand in page number 2 of our packet, which you have that right there. So right in the middle, it says pedestal signs are allowed to be 20 feet tall. Do you have that wording there?
Is that?
Just before D.
Yeah, just before D. Thank you.
Is that this one?
Yeah, or I could just read that.
It is this one. Oh, yep. Yes.
That's not it. Okay. Well, it
Pedestal signs.
Signs shall not exceed 20 feet in height.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
oh, okay.
Section 4.
Right. It says right here, condition number 1 provides an option to keep or remove this language as it is a carryover from the previous version of code, but there may be a different perspective at the time if it is removed. Then all commercial zones will have the same standard. Could you kind of
That's right.
explain that?
Sorry, I did forget to mention that. So the only distinction between the neighborhood commercial section and the other commercial sections was that at the time, neighborhood commercial did not allow for pedestal signs at all. And there's only one parcel, I believe, in the city where it'd even be applicable, because a pedestal sign requires a parcel greater than 7 acres, and Ring Road is the only place that's currently zoned as neighborhood commercial and has a parcel where that would even be possible. So we felt that was something worth discussing. If you think it's worth keeping the pedestal allowance in the neighborhood commercial, then we have that bullet point A, allowing it to carry that over from the neighborhood commercial section we're getting rid of, or just keep the same standard across all commercial sections, allowing pedestals as well.
So could you give me an example of that?
Yeah, so pedestal signage is like you go to Home Depot and you have the large ones out front of the development, and where it has all the different shops that are in a shopping center. So that's a pedestal sign.
Okay, so we're saying in neighborhood commercial, those could be allowed?
Mm-hmm.
Under what situations? All situations if we chose that, or just in some situations?
There is an acreage minimum to be allowed though. So if the neighborhood commercial property is 7 acres or larger, then it would be allowed. If it's smaller than 7 acres, it wouldn't be allowed. So the question for the commission is neighborhood commercial is generally closer to neighborhoods. Are you okay with a 20-foot tall sign if the property is 7 acres or larger?
Of which the only property is the Macy's
Ring Road.
Road.
Yeah, the only property with that zone that would qualify is Ring Road. There are some smaller pieces, but they're not the 7 acres. So that would be the only one. So I think the question, you see them at the entrance of Walmart, at the entrance of, this used to be the old Smith's, so now Vasa, at the entrance of Home Depot. So as he mentioned, the taller sign with multiple tenants listed on them.
Oh, no, this is really helpful. I have some neighborhood in my home, and I wouldn't want one of those huge signs, but if it's based on, 7 acres or more, then that qualifies it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Do we have the option to recommend that pedestal sign is not allowed in greater than 7 acre region, neighborhood commercial?
Less than 7 acre? It's already written in the code that way.
It's already written in the code that it's allowed for greater than 7.
Yes. No, sorry. The amendment would be allowing it. So right now, they're allowed in the other commercial zones. And so in the code, the way it's drafted now, you have neighborhood commercial, and then you have community commercial, and everything was duplicated except the exclusion of pedestal signs in neighborhood commercial. So if you are amenable to them, then the zones would be exactly the same. If you don't want it, we would keep that exclusion.
Okay, so.
Okay.
So.
So if I want to make a vote to not have pedestal signs in regional, in neighborhood commercial greater than 7 acres, then I would vote against this.
Then you would vote to keep the code as it, without allowing that.
Okay.
So you would vote pedestal signs, number 1, pedestal signs shall not be allowed in neighborhood.
Period, not just acreage.
Right.
At all.
So if you vote shall, the 7 acres is already built into the code, so that would already apply. If you vote shall not, it wouldn't be allowed.
And as the amendment's currently written, we are striking out pedestal signs from neighborhood commercial. So a positive recommendation as it's currently written would align with what you're asking.
Okay.
Could you say that one more time? I want to make sure.
As the code amendment is currently written, we carried that over and then wanted to open up the discussion whether we wanted to strike that or not. So if you were to have a positive recommendation, that would align with removing pedestal signs from neighborhood commercial. So continuing to keep that.
Well, sorry, Jill, on number 1, they have an option. So condition number 1, they can choose that they shall or shall not be allowed. So they're choosing one of those.
I see.
Recommendation. Yeah. So you can forward a positive recommendation, but with number 1, you're voting on whether you want those or not. They shall be allowed or shall not be allowed.
Got it.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Milden and Commissioner Karn. Like I said, my brain kind of turned off a while ago. These changes, a few months ago, we had that the chicken restaurant come through. Raising Cane's, yeah. How did these line up with like what they were asking? This is like just completely different, right?
It is. And so you see these at major entrances, and other monument signs, like individual ones, have to be 300 feet away from these.
Okay. Commissioner Miles.
Thank you. If this is adopted, what happens to the current ones? Are they no longer in
We don't have any.
compliance?
So we have them in regional commercial. We don't have any in neighborhood commercial. So it would just stay the same, that they're not allowed.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Miles. Seeing no more comments, or no additional comments, I will now entertain a motion.
I move that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation for approval of the proposed code amendments to Chapter 19.18 with the findings and conditions in the staff report. And I also would add to that the condition that pedestal signs shall not be allowed in the neighborhood commercial zone, even above 7 acres.
What was the last part?
Even above 7 acres.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Milden. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that passes unanimously. Good job, everyone. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got public hearing item number 4, amendments to Title 19 Land Development Code of the City of Saratoga Springs, Chapter 19.02, definitions, 19.04, establishment of land use zones and official map, and 19.09, off-street parking for athletic coaching. City-initiated Planner Black will be presenting tonight.
Okay, so this is to clarify the previous code amendment that we made to make sure we don't have any more issues with this. So we want to change the definition of athletic coaching to mean in-person training, focus solely on athletic development and team training programs, excluding personal training, group fitness classes, and non-sport related activities. For the purpose of this definition, a team shall be a group of athletes together for a specific sport or competition. Do I need to read all those? You guys? Okay. So I just want to add the fitness center, some stuff to that to clarify that some more, add group fitness to give some more clarification. Oh, I was like, why is there a hair salon? Yeah, and then add personal training. We wanted to, and then change where, or add where the group fitness of 5,000 square feet or larger and smaller are allowed, and then where personal training's allowed, and then add a parking ratio or standard for those. Do you have any questions on that?
On that group fitness piece, is that why 5,000 square feet or less?
Well, for that one, it would be smaller ones for, like, you'd be allowed neighborhood commercial.
Oh,
It's so,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I said
you're
it already,
totally
my
fine.
brain's done. Commissioner Kern.
Yeah, so neighborhood commercial allows for personal training and group fitness less than 5,000 square feet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and there's no change in the parking requirements for group fitness. It's one stall per 150 square feet, no matter what.
It's the same.
Okay, the personal training parking recommendation, that's not a state code, that's Saratoga Springs' own invention, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, the 3 stalls per trainer on the highest shift, how will we regulate that? And if they go out of business and somebody else comes in with more trainers,
Well, we calculate
parking's there
parking
at
when we
that
do a
point.
change of use, and if they don't have the correct amount of parking, when we do the change of use permit, then they can't go in there.
They
Okay,
also have a business license. So when a new business goes in, they have to have that business license and apply for it.
Yeah, when we get a business license, when we check them, if it's a different use from then they automatically have to do the change of use permit, then the change of use permit, that's part of the checking. Business license, parking is also one of the checks on that.
this feels really fuzzy to me, like it would be better to have a like non-debatable parking spot requirement when a personal training facility is built based on square footage. Am I just making this up, or is this going to be a problem if someone tries
No.
to build a?
It's,
They come. One of the example is they come and they say, "Well, we're only going to have 2 trainers, so we only want 6 parking spaces." And then they've got 10 trainers, and then there's a huge parking problem, and they're spilling over into other people's parking.
yeah, I mean, on any application they turn in, you hope that they give you accurate information, but there's only so much we can verify, I guess.
We did not. We will definitely do that. And it's Commissioner Kern.
Yeah, let me just finish that thought. So why do you propose this versus just a requirement per square foot?
Well, it would have the additional, this is additional to the fitness. So if another Vasa or something like that came and you have 3 personal trainers on shift, you have an additional 9 parking spaces in addition to the square footage for the building. Because you're bringing extra people into there. And so if it's the Anytime Fitness, you're bringing in a few more or something like that. So it's not instead of, but if somebody did want to open just a small little business where they used a tiny little thing, then it would be off of that plus the small fitness center. So it's not independent of, it's in addition to, because you can have multiple uses in one location.
Okay, so if I'm Vasa and I'm 150 square feet, which I know they're not, they're bigger than that, I need 1 parking spot, and I'm going to have 2 trainers on staff, so now I need 1 plus 6 parking spots.
Correct.
Okay, and in their business license application, they're going to disclose how many trainers they're going to have on staff for their highest shift.
If they don't, then we will ask them and clarify. Most times we get a business license, we have to email the applicant and get clarification on what's going on in the business and what they expect and to get the full information.
Okay, do they have an incentive to underestimate the parking that they need to reduce their development costs?
I would imagine it can go both ways. When they don't have parking, they drive away customers. So we get mixed feedback on that. You know, we get feedback that developers and applicants and business owners want to have adequate parking. Otherwise, they're impacting their own customer base. But that being said, we never know if somebody might have a motivation to do that.
Yeah, okay. don't we approve developments before they've selected the business that's going to go in?
Oftentimes we do, yes.
So how will we do that if we don't know what business is going to be in there? How are we going to,
If they applied and they didn't have the correct parking, we wouldn't be able to approve it.
We've had a few businesses down in one of the office warehouse places down there that have tried to put in a fitness center, and they were parked at like 1 per 1,000 or 1.87 per 1,000, and I had to tell them it doesn't work. So
okay,
the developer, it behooves them to actually add the parking to where they can actually rent out their spaces, otherwise they're out of luck.
okay.
And you do have good questions and good concerns. This is one way to do it. There are other ways to do it. Usually we look at what other cities are doing and, you know, we kind of pick the most popular option, but we don't have to do it this way. So it's kind of meeting industry standard, but it can be done different ways.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and now we will open for public comment. Seeing none, we'll close. Thanks, Wendy, for being on that. Okay, seeing no additional comments on this, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion. Oh, hold on, let me push all the buttons. There we are.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation for approval of the proposed code amendment to chapters 19.02, 19.04, and 19.09 with the findings and conditions of the staff report.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wilden. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner, oh my gosh, Mann? I know that one. Any questions on the motion? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Awesome. And okay, and then we'll move to business items. And these are without public comment. And we have the approval of minutes from May 15th, 2025. Any questions on that? Or I will entertain a motion after I push the button. There we go.
I'll move that we approve the Planning Commission minutes from May 15th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you for that motion, Commissioner Hill. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you for that. Second, Commissioner Miles. And let's go ahead and vote on that. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And we'll move to reports. Commissioner comments.
It's too late for comments.
Yes, it is. All right. And director's report.
Okay, great. The last council meeting was held on May 20th. We had a handful of planning items. I'd like to give you an update on those. We are working on what's called a West Utah County growth study, and they gave a brief presentation. It's a grant that Eagle Mountain and Saratoga are coordinating on, and we're looking forward to that. It will help guide some of our traffic and transportation requests. So we're looking forward to the progress they make on that. They just gave their introduction to the project to the council at that meeting. And then we had Wildflower Village 9. The commission saw that previously. However, the applicant had a conflict and was not able to attend, unfortunately, and that got tabled, so it would be going back to council. And then we had the cemetery Phase 1 site plan and the preliminary plat for the full boundary, and that was approved. As you know, many residents are looking forward to having a city cemetery, so that's a really big deal for the city. Skyline Properties rezone, that was approved with their development agreement. And that's just up here on the north end of Redwood Road on the east side. They're going from agriculture to regional commercial. And then we had a retaining walls code amendment that was approved, Wildflower Village Plan 5, and a community plan amendment. So the commission hasn't seen that one for quite some time, over a year actually. It got tabled by the council more than a year ago, and then the applicant has just now come back, worked with the council and staff and come back, and that was approved with several conditions. So that is at the intersection of SR 73 and Mountain View Corridor, the northwest corner. In the future, you'll be seeing some warehouses go up in that location. And then the Transportation Master Plan update that you saw, that was approved. And then the Saratoga Springs 7, this one that you saw tonight for that church, they have to be taken out of the agriculture protection, and that doesn't come to you, but that was approved. We do have questions on our next meeting. We've heard we may not have a quorum unless we can commit to attending over Zoom. We do have, we did just notice a pretty big village plan. So if we can somehow wrangle together a quorum, even if somebody can attend on Zoom, would like to. If not, we'll have to cancel. So I don't know if any of you that are going to be out of town would be able to do that or not.
And that's the 12th?
The 12th, yes. And we were going to have Mark Christensen, city manager, present on transportation just in general, but with so few of you here, we would probably change that to another date. However, if we don't have a quorum, we're going to cancel. But if somebody's going to join on Zoom, it would have to be a firm commitment, so we know for sure.
I'll Zoom in if nobody else will. I'm going to be
Okay.
at a camp with no cell signal, so I'm hoping somebody raises their hand.
I absolutely cannot join.
Okay, appreciate that. Is there anybody else? Because we are worried about if you, for some reason, weren't able to get signal at your campsite, we would still have to cancel.
I'll just drive to town.
So you'll commit to it? And then do we have, who are the other 3 that are coming in person?
I'll be here in person.
Okay,
I'll be in Minneapolis, so I have to figure out time zones. So there's a chance I'll have to figure out time zones.
potential you could be on Zoom? Okay.
7 PM.
Yeah, now I've got
And-
to look at my schedule too.
And I'll be in Oregon, and I'm going to be in a motel room. I could do it just as long as the connection works well.
So someone will need to chair this meeting as well. So those of you who are in person, keep that in mind.
And then with Commissioner Mangum, do we know? We don't usually get a confirmation from him either way, so,
I'm like 70% sure I can be here. It is right during the Parade of Homes. Although I have Thursdays off for this purpose, I don't know if the builder's going to change my schedule during the Parade of Homes time.
okay. Based on tonight's conversation, I don't think we have a strong enough commitment, so I think to cancel that meeting.
Can we just move it up a week?
Well, we can't as far as noticing goes, so our noticing deadline was yesterday, so we've already noticed it. We can cancel it, though. We could move it back a week, but not up a week. But then we're getting, oh yeah, we have Juneteenth, which is a holiday. So I think we're going to have to cancel it. I don't see another alternative, just because, yeah, we don't have enough in-person commitment, even for 3 with 1 on Zoom. So let's, and I don't think we have enough Zoom commitment either. Sounds iffy. So we're going to have to cancel that. So doesn't that seem like? And it's during Splash. Okay, so we'll have to cancel that one and let that applicant know that they're going to have to wait. But we can work with them. So we'll see you all at the next one, and we will see if our city manager can come to that one to transportation update. So, or not update, just presentation, just informative. When the transportation master plan was presented, there were a lot of questions. So our goal is to have you be more informed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any need for a closed session? And perfect, we will adjourn this meeting.
You listen in?
I can just drive out and call in. I mean, I just need cell signal.
Exciting meeting.